In the eighth. That was a fight where they had a last minute replacement. It was a decent replacement. They both had fought Darrell before, prior to, and so just judging by the outcomes, I expected what I saw. David Benavidez is a big 168
monster,
and great hand speed. Seems to have decent power. So he ended up stopping him in the eighth. Good show of sportsmanship at the end, but I guess the bigger thing to take away from it is what happens at the 168-pound division now. What are your reactions to? Do you think David Benavidez is ready for Canelo? He's relatively young. Some might say inexperienced. He has been a contender for a minute at 168 and should be a belt holder, but magically everybody else was getting the phantom belts and interim fights but him. So, Q, I'll let you go ahead and speak on it and what you feel about David Benavidez and his future in the 168-pound division.
He absolutely deserves a shot. I think he's ready. I'm tired of all this babysitting. I ain't with it. I want to see the best fight the best. I feel like he's no doubt, in my opinion, I think he's the most dangerous fighter at 168. He been there. He was a belt holder before Canelo got there, if I ain't mistaken. And I think he lost his belt. I don't know if it's on the scale or some with COVID protocol. He lost his belt some type of way. So he's legit. I think I don't know if he should be the mandatory. I mean, who else is it there? You know what I'm saying? If you're going to stay there, my thing is you might as well fight the best. Like I said before, I think Cinco de Mayo will be the perfect, you know what I'm saying? Because Canelo already said he's going to chill till come back May 5th or whatever that week. And so I feel like Benavidez, this fight has already cooked enough. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of people already coming out saying, there's a lot of people feel like Canelo ain't fighting the best. I feel like Caleb Plant was definitely a good fight for him. And I think Benavidez is the next. If you're gonna be in 168, we don't got some soft touches already. And I will give Canelo his credit. He has kept the game alive because he's been very active. But I want to see at this point, that's really the only fight I want to see at this point. You know what I'm saying? Personally, that'll be my first pick, put it like that. It's other fights I entertain, but that's the one. And I think that'll be a very stiff test. And I just saw something where Canelo actually called him dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Canelo, so he definitely
that might be the kiss of death, though. You know what I'm saying? That might be the.
Well, you got to do it. You got to go through it, get to it, and do it. Because what I see about Benavidez, and I got to give all the credit to Kyrone Davis, man. He's one of the bravest fighters I ever seen. I mean, honestly, skilled, and he was outmatched. Because Benavidez breaks you down with pressure, and his speed is very underrated. His speed and 6-punch combinations and body punching and relentless pressure. You know what I'm saying? He like if Antonio Margarita wasn't dirty.
Man, get Antonio off the screen. I saw that in Showtime. I saw that little clip.
Yeah, you saw him. But like
Antonio
the pressure Margarita's put on with the volume
side.
punching and walking down. Well, I think he's more skilled than Margarita. Well, I don't know. I like.
Well, I'll go ahead and help you out. That if you don't mind me interjecting, he's way more skilled than Margarito, number one, and he ain't got them Acme Acre cement blocks in his hands.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But
matter of fact, go ahead. I want to add a little something in there, but go ahead. After y'all done, I'll throw a little on it.
That's what I got. What you got, JD?
Actually, I thought it was actually a pretty good fight. I did what you said, Q. I got to salute for 1 second. I'm gonna salute Davis.
Man.
I'm gonna give him his props because he actually took this bout on 2 weeks' notice. So that tells you right there how much he was just trying to jump at the opportunity just to get on the big stage. Because I don't think any fighter would suggest or say it's a good idea to take on David Benavidez with only 2 weeks of preparation. So it actually did get to the 8th round. And I'm not going to lie, when I was watching the bout, I did say to myself, I give Davis credit. He did get overwhelmed by Benavidez. But I'm like, dang, if this dude probably had a full camp, maybe this fight goes maybe to the 11th round. Or maybe he possibly even survives. Who knows? Because to get the round 8 on only 2 weeks, that was a pretty good feat for him. But with David Benavidez, man, dude is just too huge, too relentless, too fast. He is a fighter who he throws so many punches, almost reminds me a bit of an even bigger Jaime Munguia. For those who watched the Jaime Munguia Gabe Rosado fight, you watch a fighter like that at 160 who punches so much and is so active, you know, David Benavidez is the exact same way. And now to the Canelo point, that is for the very reason why I do not think Canelo takes him on anytime soon. I think a 24-year-old dude this big who throws that many punches, who's naturally
durable,
a 168-pounder. So you could imagine that David Benavidez probably comes into the ring probably at light heavy, probably about 175, maybe even
a cruiserweight.
Right, maybe even 180, maybe even higher. So when you take that into account, I don't see Canelo going into a fight with a fighter that big, who's naturally the bully, and who even David Benavidez has said, look, everybody thinks that Canelo will be a good fight, but y'all don't realize I like to take a hit. He said, when it comes to Canelo, I'll take the hit, and then I'm going to try to give them licks right back. And so in my mind, what I see when I see David Benavidez and why I think it won't happen, I see a younger, bigger, stronger, in his prime, Triple G. And so that is for the reason why I don't think Canelo does that, because Benavidez is going to fight the exact same style that Triple G took the Canelo in both fights. And if you're Canelo, I don't think you want that war with that young bull who's only 24. I just don't see Canelo wanting that right now. But I agree with you, Q, that if he's going to stay at 168, he doesn't have long to keep ducking this young bull if he's really going to keep claiming that title of being undisputed at 168 when he's the most formidable contender. Not to mention, speaking of Charlo and Benavidez, both of them have said that they are the #1 contenders to Canelo's belts. So he, at this point, even if he's really going to hold on to those belts, he's got to take on one of them, because both of them are sitting there as the #1 contenders. So we'll see what happens when it gets down to that.
See, there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm gonna squeeze a whole lot in a little bit. Number one, Charlo being the #1 contender for his belt is bullshit. Because has he ever had a fight at 168 yet?
No.
All right. So that's bullshit. Number one. Two, it speaks to my point where magically the Red Sea parted, and he was able to skip over Benavidez and collect all the belts against Liam Smith or whatever Smith brother he fought. And Callum Smith, wherever he fought. And it was kind of just odd to me. He was beating these, I don't want to say also rans, but these guys who were just had a belt. And it was interim fights, and they never really beat a champ to be a champ. And then now all of a sudden he's the 168-pound undisputed, and you got David Benavidez sitting there like, what just happened? So that's two. Three, you mentioned Jaime Munguia. I do want to talk about that because it's not really on the schedule. I want to say, man, he put on a hell of a fight with Rosado. Shout out to Rosado, man. He's always professional, shows up, got a lot of heart. That was a great fight. Jaime Munguia got a hell of a chin. Love to see him in the future. I do have a question. So you see David Benavidez, right? If David Benavidez can't get Canelo, we were talking about this. Well, I saw you guys going back and forth about this. What do you guys think about a Plant fight? You think Plant should get a setup fight to kind of get back on the winning streak, and then, or do you think he should jump right in the fight with David Benavidez? And I only say that, and I'll preface it, kind of muddy the waters, and say I think it would be unfair to have to put Caleb Plant right back in there with David Benavidez.
What I'm saying, bro.
So so what do y'all think about that?
I wouldn't want to do that to him, man. I like playing, and I don't like that fight for him, man. I mean, more I think about it, I don't like that fight because, I mean, Benavidez is, I feel like he's bigger. He's more offensive than Canelo. It's a lot less time to counterpunch because this man is flurry. I mean, and his jab is great. Amazing. With the clip you sent me with the clip you sent?
The classic
the 30 punch
hand slap combination?
Shit, man. I don't know if they sped it up, but like, bro, this man.
No, that was real.
His
real
punches
time.
And punch placement and that jab is dumb. And then he even got the reach over half an inch. I looked at the measurables, he an inch taller and half an inch reach over Caleb Plant. I really, because I just feel like Benavidez is very durable. And I just feel like with Canelo, I feel like the durability test, the chin test, because I just felt like Caleb Plant didn't have the power to hurt Canelo. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like this would be a very bad look. I mean, I love this. I love the fight, but I don't know if it's enough footwork to get around what Benavidez is bringing, man. Because he ain't wasting punches either. You know, so
what you got on JD?
Heck no, man. That shouldn't happen next, man. I'm gonna tell you right now, without a doubt, you don't put Caleb Plant right in there with another dog like a David Benavidez. But what I will say though is, hey man, salute to Caleb Plant because he put on a spectacular performance, one that I did not expect.
I'm a fan.
So I'm not gonna sit here and say,
cost me a smoothie.
Yeah, I still need that smoothie about you, brother. But I'm gonna say this much though. I'm not so quick to write off Caleb Plant against David Benavidez, though. And here's why. Even though David Benavidez would be able to apply that pressure, I will say this, man. Caleb Plant got some defense. The way he stood in that pocket with that shoulder roll, I got
it's easy to do when somebody is picking punches, bro. Benavidez
best shoulder roll, but
here,
the master.
Right, but here's the thing. Yeah. What I would say though is, I feel like even with Caleb Plant, he's still young. I even think he could improve on that even more. I could guarantee you, there's a lot of people who are looking at his defense against Canelo, and he probably even has some of his peers like, "Dang, bro, where that came from, bro? Where you been working on that at?" And so my thing is, the reason why I say I would not rule out Caleb Plant is simply for the fact that if he could utilize that kind of defense, I do think he would get more rounds against David Benavidez. And so what it will ultimately boil down to is, can he avoid that devastating shot? Like you're talking about, Q. He going to have relentless pressure, but if Caleb Plant could avoid that one shot or two, bro, I can see
Canelo had that work rate, man. That fight, just the work rate this man got, bro. See,
Canelo can't have that work rate, or he shouldn't after all that weight he put on. Like, if he has the same work rate as he did when he was 147 pounds, 154 pounds, then that man's just a machine. I'm gonna say this, and you guys were talking about this with Canelo and fighting Benavidez. I think what a lot of people are calling for, which is a lot of people, why people are looking at the Triple G fight or looking at David Benavidez, they want somebody who's not going to wilt under Canelo's power. They want somebody who could take a punch and give one just as strong to see skill for skill. Who's the better fighter? What do you guys think about that?
I agree, no doubt about it. And my only real reason for not wanting the Triple G fight, because I even just saw Eddie Hearns. It's a lot of people that do want the Triple G fight. It just we've seen it twice. I just feel like Canelo will get better. You know what I'm saying? Just after the first one, after the second one, I feel like he's improving the third one. And I just feel like Triple G is older. And personally, I just feel like Triple G hasn't done anything since he fought Canelo. That's my only reason. It ain't nothing against Triple G. I just feel like he could have been undisputed at 160 right now, and which would even make that fight even bigger, because he could have jumped on Charlo and he could have jumped on Andrade. You know what I'm saying? But
in all response, I'll say about the Triple G thing, and I won't. This will be his second top 5 middleweight that he's fought, and I will say, in regards to Andrade and Charlo, I can't remember, other than Devinchenko, I can't remember the last top middleweight they fought. Like him fighting Murata over in Japan. Murata's ranked number 4. Devinchenko was ranked number 3. And he would have faced 2 of the top 5. And I was just for Charlo constantly calling out Canelo and even Andre, it's like, y'all either got to fight each other.
But Andre won't fight. Andre won't fight. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference. Charlo don't want it. You know what I'm saying? and I just saw Munguia. He could have been the mandatory and already had fought him like plenty of times ago. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's right. Munguia's in the 160 division.
Eddie Hearns called all that out. Like, yo, you could have. You talking about being in line, but you could already had the fight.
But that's a smart move. That's a smart move though, by Munguia. He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready.
Yeah, I mean,
he wasn't ready.
It's a smart move, but we know why these moves made. You know what I'm saying? They ain't.
Yeah. You talking about
to vacate? They'll jump on whoever the whack guy that's in line, and they'll fight them.
But you know what? I will say this. They did. I think the way it happened with Munguia, they tried to put him up against Triple G, and I think
a few years back. Yeah,
I think that's what they're talking about now.
Yeah. I mean, that's more viable now than it
good
was
fighter.
back then. Like Munguia wasn't what we saw last night back then. But
Yeah. And to
moving
your
on
point,
without trying to get too far, into the weeds on the 160 and 168 pound division, we gotta.
Let me
Sorry.
jump
Let me
in.
go ahead,
Yeah,
man.
I never responded to your question, bro. But to your point about everybody wanting to see Canelo face somebody who won't wilt under the pressure, it's for the very person y'all talking about, Triple G. The one person that everybody can raise their hand and say that they saw arguably beat him, or at least say it's a draw, either however you want to see it. But there's only one fighter you could really say in the past couple of years that did not wilt under the pressure, and that's Triple G. And like I said, I think everybody is clamoring for, because I'm going to keep it 100 on Canelo, right? Because this is something that we have lamented going all the way back to the days that Canelo was under Oscar De La Hoya, right? And speaking of Munguia, they're doing the same thing with Munguia, which is smart. It's smart. They're being very calculated with who they pick at what particular time. Who they pick at what particular time. I'm not going to lie. When I go back and I look at the resume of Canelo Alvarez, if you really look at it, I give him two people that he really faced probably in what should have been their prime or was their prime. And I'll give him Triple G, and I'll give him Danny Jacobs, which I'm still disappointed how Danny Jacobs fought against Canelo. But I will give Canelo credit for Danny J. Outside of Triple G and Danny J, I dare people to go look at his resume over the past 7, 8, 9 fights and really name somebody who honestly probably he faced in their prime where it was probably at that person's peak. And so I think that's really what people are clamoring for.
You think Billy Joe was past his prime?
You said what?
Billy Joe Saunders?
Billy,
that should have happened a couple years ago. Even Billy Joe Saunders fight. That should have happened probably 2 years prior. People,
but I will say,
Billy Joe fight.
In Canelo's defense on that one, Billy did pop positive for them steroids.
Yeah. I mean that did happen. But even with that one, to your point, Q, that was also a fight that Canelo kind of was like, I'll wait on Billy Joe later. It just never materialized. Then the whole steroid thing happened. So in the end of the day, I see why all.
So you saying Chavez Jr. wasn't in his prime?
Hey, that's a good one. Hey, bro, that's a good one. That's a good one, bro.
Hey, that was pretty good.
That's why people want to see it, man, because he's the one fighter, bro.
All right, before we move on, I just, man, it's such an interesting topic. You know what? This is our show. We're going to do how we want to do it. I'm going to just say one thing. I'll go back to what I said previously. The reason why people are calling for these fights, and there's such an appetite, because when you go into a fight, right, you don't want to go into a fight knowing that, hey, the guy that the other guy's fighting, he can't hurt him, right? I think when we look at Billy Joe, we know he didn't have the power to hurt Canelo, right? We look at Plant, same thing. And we look at all the fights, even Yildirim or who the guy he fought in Miami.
Yildirim,
yeah, which was like, yeah. But all these fighters, we're looking at him like, man, Canelo is so much stronger. At some point, we all know what's coming. Tank Davis sent out a tweet. He's like me at 168. So everybody wants to see, hey, fight another bull, man. So I think that's what we want to see, and we see that in David Benavidez. But speaking of bulls, and two bulls collide, man, we